Hello, my name is Michael Alcorn, and I'm an author and a columnist. I have 3 children who have gone through the public schools, and for the last 24 years, I've been a public school teacher in Jefferson County schools. I'm here today to talk to you about the substantive value of having great style, or in other words, how not to be such a bonehead that the public refuses to listen to you anymore. I think reform candidates get caught in the conceit sometimes that you either have to choose between having great substance or having great style. These days, that's not an option. You must have style. And to illustrate my point, I'm going to talk about one of my favorite movie characters, James Bond. Now, I was born in 1969, so the first James Bond that I became aware of was Roger Moore. Roger Moore was witty. He had the great one-liners, he was very charming with the women, and he had the coolest toys in all of the movies. The problem with Roger Moore was when it came to the action sequences, he wasn't horribly credible. The latest incarnation of James Bond is this man, Daniel Craig. Daniel Craig doesn't get the good one-liners. Daniel Craig isn't charming with the women, and they've taken away most of his cool toys. What Daniel Craig does have, when it comes to the action sequences, is enormous credibility. And I can tell you as a martial artist, he looks really good at what he's doing. Roger Moore was all about style, not a lot of substance. Daniel Craig is all about substance. Thing is, his substance is so strong that it creates his own style. And you can be either Roger Moore or you can be Daniel Craig. You can't afford to be this guy. The problem that reform candidates have had over the last several years is their enormous problems with style are getting in the way of their message, and they cannot articulate the substance of their positions because too many of the public have already dismissed them based on their stylistic faults. So what do you have to do to deal with that? Well, I think it's important to recognize and understand the environment that you're in. You are hated. I'm sorry to tell you that, but you are. You are despised. Before you ever get to the podium to give your acceptance speech once you've got elected, there are dozens of people literally waiting for you to screw up so that they can pounce on it and destroy you. So when you do something like call a last-minute meeting to discuss personnel issues related to the superintendent, the next morning they can have 300 people there in uniform protesting, turning that into a celebration of the superintendent who you just hung out to dry. That's the environment you're in. Their infrastructure is good, and it's been in place for a long time, and they will turn it on you. Plus, we've got the media environment that we're in right now. Everybody's got a camera. Everything you do is going to be recorded. Remember Mitt Romney and his 47% comment? He thought he was in a safe place to do that. There's no such thing as a safe place anymore. Everything you say and do, and by the way, post on Facebook, is going to be the subject of public scrutiny. So if you go on Facebook and post an article talking about how the Nazis used education to help build their society, suddenly you've just called your opponents Nazis, and you lose the argument based on Godwin's law. So you can't make inept comparisons. You have to be shrewd about what's going on around you and understand the environment. Now the thing is, once you understand all that, then you can get to the point of winning the arguments. And you're not going to win every argument, and you're not going to win everybody. Remember what political scientists tell us. 40% of the public at any given time is going to be against you. 40% of the public at any given time is going to be on your side. 20% in the middle that doesn't really pay attention that much anyway, they're influenceable. The problem you have is that the 40% against you is turning all of their infrastructure towards the 20%, trying to make you look like a bonehead. They want them to believe you are Darth Vader. So how do you avoid making that easy? Well, first of all, I think it's important that you have to focus on the big problems while avoiding self-inflicted wounds. You can hire the superintendent that you want. That's great. Hiring a CEO is a big thing. That's important. But if you tell the public that you're going to go through steps A, B, C, D, E, and F to get there, when you get to step C, even if you've concluded that you've got your guy, we're going to shortcut this, that's a blunder. You have to go through D, E, and F because that's what you told the public you were going to do, and that's what the 20% wants you to do, is what you said you were going to do. So you focus on the big problems and don't get caught up in arguments about the little stuff. If you have a primary list of priorities, a secondary list of priorities, a tertiary list of priorities, for gosh sakes, let go of the tertiary stuff. Don't get bogged down in that conversation because it just makes you look angry. Okay? In fact, give in on some of those. because you're not going to win all of them anyway. You might as well look like you're trying to accommodate, because what you want to do is focus on the big stuff. You can make that message get out to the 20% as long as that's what you're doing. And plus, it helps you project to the public a happy warrior persona, and that's really good. It's not a pointless fight that you're getting caught in. You're getting caught in the big stuff, and that's what matters. And then I would say at every opportunity, engage the public. Don't simply ignore protesters. Go across the street. Talk to them. Ask them probing questions. Ask them if they know where the curriculum comes from. Ask them if they understand the testing regime. Ask them all kinds of important questions. And use the media environment to your advantage. Let your friends know that you're going to do that. Make sure somebody's over there with a cell phone videotaping the whole thing so that you have something you can put on social media to counter their arguments. You can win that argument with the 20% if you're shrewd about the whole thing. If they think you're Darth Vader and you go into orbit around Alderaan for no reason, they're going to believe you're Darth Vader. Stay out of the system if you possibly can. The bottom line in all of this is that your message and what you're trying to accomplish is way too important for you to allow it to get buried under piles of clumsy public relations blunders. Be shrewd, be smart. Remember, any of your blunders suddenly paint dozens of people with that. Remember Todd Akin? He was a Senate candidate from Missouri a few years ago who wandered into a rhetorical dead end about what is rape and how women's physiology works. He lost his election, and because of that blunder, several other people around the country lost their elections. What you do against the infrastructure that you're fighting paints everybody that way. So be shrewd, be smart, win those battles. What you're doing is way too important. I appreciate, like you wouldn't believe, that you're getting into this fight. This is a difficult fight, it's an important fight, and I want you to be really successful at it. Good luck, Godspeed.